Godzilla times Kong, the new empire. I believe that is a multiplication symbol in the title, so Godzilla times Kong is what we're going with. This is the direct sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong, which came out a few years ago, and it was a very fun movie. Huge internet phenomenon with Team Godzilla versus Team Kong taking over Twitter. And I think it's safe to say with these monsters teaming up now, Team Godzilla versus Team Kong is over. But, you know, Team Kong for life, man. So Kong is encountering more of his species in the Hollow Earth, and he must unite with Godzilla in this film, all to stop their tyrannical leader and the powerful climate-changing titan from destroying the surface. Here's the deal, guys. If you enjoyed Godzilla vs. Kong, if you've enjoyed the MonsterVerse up to this point, you're probably going to love Godzilla times Kong. Let's face it, I feel like if you like big monsters breaking things apart and just tearing other monsters to smithereens and ripping them a new one, you're probably gonna really dig this. Because Adam Wingard, the director, and the studio pretty much gives you exactly what it advertises. Godzilla and Kong are wreaking all sorts of havoc in this thing. And honestly, those monsters are once again the real spotlights of this movie. Every scene which involves either one of the monsters are my favorite parts of it. And I'll give the new empire credit where it's rightfully deserved. I definitely appreciate that these writers are trying to tell a story with Kong, and all of this is done with minimal to no dialogue. It's different when you go watch a Planet of the Apes movie because these are advanced apes at this point. They're very sophisticated, they have a very extensive vocabulary, so their dialogue is going to be extremely elevated. With Kong and his goons, it's all very primal. And the visual storytelling that we saw, I thought was actually really solid. Especially on Kong's side of things, they were able to get across so much with this character. The visual story artists deserve so much props here. Because aside from the gigantic action set pieces that we get, the CGI and the visuals of this movie are stellar. Godzilla times Kong is 100% an IMAX ScreenX experience. Whatever special offering your theater has, that is how you should be watching Godzilla times Kong. Because I guarantee you that is the most immersive experience that you're going to get out of this movie. And even though the human characters are certainly the lesser parts of these MonsterVerse movies, like, these human actors definitely came to play. Rebecca Hall is once again very solid in this movie. The connection that she has with this young girl, the sole survivor of the Skull Island tribe that they reference, it's actually a very sweet, heartwarming, and emotional story. I completely forgot that Dan Stevens was in this movie too. Dan Stevens, like, spoiling it without context, it's almost like he's Oren Scrivello in The Dentist. You know, without the sadist, sexist energy. My favorite human character in this one, bar none, has to be Brian Tyree Henry. Once again, this is a podcaster who is covering all things Titan. And there is one specific rant that he goes on, which I feel like me and all the other YouTubers on this medium talking all things movies, I find it all too relatable. Not gonna get too deep into what that is. If you're going in here expecting the most sophisticated story on the planet, I really don't know what else you were asking for. Like, you're walking into a movie that's titled Godzilla times Kong, and the trailer is promising you just pure kaiju mayhem. I walked out of this movie pretty satisfied because I got exactly what I expected. I didn't go into this movie expecting to be blown away by the storyline. Because even though there is some effort in here emotionally, and it's not like there's no meat on that bone, the majority of the people who buy a ticket to this movie are expecting to see gigantic monster fights. And you get it, and they look awesome on the big screen. I will admit, though, this movie is certainly not without its flaws. I definitely, I don't know. I feel like Godzilla vs. Kong is superior over this one. I don't know why I feel that way right now, but that's just my gut instinct. Even though the story of Kong in this one is so fleshed out, it definitely felt like Godzilla vs. Kong felt like one that was about both of them. This one, you definitely felt like the focus was more so on Kong. If you're a Godzilla fan and you walk into this wanting a lot of Godzilla, you probably would have been very disappointed by this. Because it's not like there's no Godzilla in the movie, because the action that Godzilla has is very cool. Pink, spiky Godzilla is quite the specimen. And visually speaking, that does not disappoint. But Godzilla in the storyline that they're going for here, He almost feels like an afterthought until the third act when Kong is basically forced to team up with him. This is gonna sound like a weird comparison, but without spoiling anything, think back to Toy Story 4. Your two main characters in the Toy Story franchise up to that point were Woody and Buzz, obviously. Toy Story 4 was very much centered around Woody and his story. But you had Buzz there, and you had a running joke with him that kind of kept him relevant. They actually kind of do the same thing in this movie. They have a running joke with Godzilla, which I was certainly laughing at, but it's a thing that kind of keeps him in the spotlight and keeps him relevant while he's tearing things apart. And being a government tool to fight the things that the government can't fight... Oh, that's bad. And part of my issue with Godzilla x Kong, like in the grand scheme of things, we just got Godzilla -1. And that to me, like at least in my lifetime, that is the best iteration of Godzilla that I have ever seen. He's a primal monster that just happens upon Hiroshima and Nagasaki right after the atomic bombs were dropped. And then here comes Godzilla to rub salt into the wound, albeit not purposefully. He's not doing it out of malice. Godzilla as a horrifying monster villain, that is my favorite version of Godzilla. And even though you certainly feel the danger and the collateral damage in Godzilla x Kong, using him as a governmental weapon to kind of solve all of your problems, I don't know. I don't know. It just kind of feels like the movie studio is also looking for an excuse to keep making these movies. Whereas Godzilla -1 felt like a pure product of storytellers who wanted to give us the best Godzilla movie possible. So I know it sounds kind of silly to compare this movie to -1, but I knew like 3 months removed from -1 even releasing in theaters, I knew this one wasn't going to hold a candle to that. And lo and behold, I got big monster fights, but I was absolutely right. So if you want some meaningful story involving Godzilla, or heck, even King Kong, you're going to get a meaningful story with King Kong in here and this really cute little orangutan thing. I don't think the orangutan is a spoiler because you see that little guy in the trailer. But this honestly to me felt like a movie that was starring King Kong and just happened to have Godzilla in it. So we're 2 for 2 in these Godzilla-Kong team-ups. The story was more so about Kong, and then Godzilla comes in and is either the instigator or is just he's a side hero that we have. But I think if you go in not expecting much out of the story, except for just pure kaiju pandemonium, I think you'll actually leave this movie satisfied and like you got your money's worth. I'm going to give Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire a C+. I'm very glad to see that at least some effort was put into Kong's side of the story. But man, I was a little bit disappointed by Godzilla's involvement here, or lack thereof. Let me know what you thought of The New Empire down in the comments section. What is your favorite Godzilla movie? What is your favorite King Kong movie? Let me know all those thoughts all down there. Because I love discussing all new things in movies and in the entertainment world. This is a great community of geeks and film lovers alike that y'all are invited to join. Do consider subscribing today and tap on that thumbs up as well. That would be a huge help. And stay tuned for more videos hitting this channel very soon as we kickstart the month of April, which is jam-packed. Should be a lot of fun though, guys, and I can't wait to share all this content with you and much, much more. Y'all are the best. Thank you again for your continued support. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.